Yo, I've been writing on another video about why you should try out and use different various tabletop rule sets for the last about 2 months round and about. Seeing this here today should give you an idea on how successful I was with that. Anyway, today we'll get very numbery. We'll be comparing most different character types in Mythic today, and since apparently no one has experience in mixing groups, I'll be making a few calculations for purely stat-based differences and maybe talk from my own experience a little. First, very important, let's talk sources. For military types I'll be using Mythic's 3.7 core rules, and specifically the human types as they are better developed and way easier to compare for various reasons. For Oni types I'll be looking at the Oni Splat book, also obviously Mythic 3.7, and the civilian variations are from the civilian Splat book. In addition, I made a collection of spreadsheets, which will be the core of this video and linked in the description if I don't forget, for all of you to follow along and make yourself a picture. A few words on how I made them and the formulas that were used. First, I had a look at all skills and educations, simply evaluating their respective averages. Nothing here is normed to how popular they would be as choices, and a median with some deviation might have been more reasonable, but I didn't want to undermine any individual player's choices, nor did I want to make it more complicated than necessary. I technically only need the averages noted down, but keeping this pseudo database will make maintaining it easier, so look forward to the same video in 4.0 again. Then I also collected the worth of specialization packs, something that will become very important later as well. Where necessary I included these exact averages that we just discussed, but most things here are set in stone. Lastly, most importantly, I threw together a comparison of soldier types. Again, no preference to any skills nor specialization packs, even though there might be pretty clear favorites. The column Total Worth contains the sum of all bonuses and subtracts the cost. Efficiency divides the respective total worth by the civilians, as civilians don't cost anything, making them a good baseline, to determine how much more you get from paying extra at character creation. What I skipped are Orion, AI, and Spartan soldier types, because comparing mythic characteristics, different base characteristics, and therefore different maximums, would have required some seriously difficult conversions under unnecessarily difficult assumptions. I also didn't throw in any Coveys or Prometheans for very similar reasons. Let me touch on the comments that I left in the spreadsheet, as they contain some minor but in a way key assumptions I had to make and that might help your understanding. The Navy Tech effectively costs 1550, not 1525. No costs end in 25. Multiple educations assume 2 different educations at +5 each. Values increase when we pick a single one at +10, as you can imagine, but that might not be allowed in the specific cases, so we keep it simple. The civilian in the column Efficiency compared to Group is compared to the classic soldier group, just because that might be interesting and there are no completely different civilian types to compare, only specialization. It's pretty clear that military characters are a lot stronger than civilians, as civilians don't even have half the efficiency the average soldier has. And that's neglecting any squad up bonus, equipment packs, the civilians' increased cost for buying military or Covey/Forerunner equipment, and so on. This should be a clear indication to be extremely careful when meshing civilians with military characters. Inside the classic soldier types, we find relatively low discrepancies. The 2 outliers are the UEG police force at the bottom and the ODST at the top. Considering that the police are closer to civilians than military, that is not really surprising, and I haven't heard anyone say, "Oh, I want to bring a sheriff onto a corvette." No, I kinda want to do that. Not the point. The Air Force being such a close contender to the police Makes me a little sad though. And considering how specialized they are, their benefits might be completely dead and they should only be taken with caution. Quite baffling on the other hand is just how strong ODSTs are. Not only are they a fifth more efficient purely XP wise when compared to the average soldier, they are also equipped with way better equipment packs and especially their way better armor. So in my book, they are just severely undercosted and should never be mixed with any other soldier type in the same group, apart from maybe Orions, who knows, and when it comes to Spartans, all bets are off anyways. The most balanced soldier type is surprisingly the Navy Tech, which finds itself within a 5% margin of the average soldier. Give them a second language and they are basically perfect. Now we find something very interesting and equally disappointing. We see that Oni are incredibly overcosted. On first glance, that's not all that surprising, considering all the non-XP benefits they gain. But they don't gain any educations and not even skills. Oni need quite a decent buff, otherwise they are not only way too weak in comparison, but also really hard to keep a secret from the other players, when they don't gain the benefits their cover soldier type should actually have. As things are, I can't advise you to mix Oni with any other soldier type, which is something I didn't think I'd end up saying, and something that completely ruins any incentive to play them in the first place. Also, don't mix Oni operatives of different sections, they are all over the place. Overall, this splat book should be ignored until it is revised, which sounds painful. Now, let's have a look at the specialization packs, starting with the military ones. We only have one strong top outlier, but damn, that's a big one. The heavy weapons pack is just massively too strong, considering it gets 1500 experience in abilities alone, which is absolutely ridiculous. The low shot here is technician/comms. We can see exactly the nerd who the heavy has bullied. He'd need some sort of equalizer to keep up, or you really need it for your character you have in mind. Does drag down the Navy Tech a little in my book as well. Now to the civilian variants. Our top outlier is the Scholar. Educations are worth way more than expected apparently, but considering they aren't worth much on their own, that's completely fine. The Pilot as the close second might need a bit of a cost adjustment, but it could also be dead if you have niche skills that don't come up. Quite a hit or miss. Our bottom outlier, however, makes me depressed. Why does Farmer even have a cost associated with it? Even without the XP cost, it's overpriced, but at least an argument could be made that the bonuses are definitely not dead. Anyway, it baffles me and I don't want to continue talking about it. As it stands, simply don't take it. The Politician package is the next weakest. It contains pretty useful skills and you might be able to make back what raw hard value you lost here, simply by clever application of what you got. Okay, I smashed those numbers, but what does it mean? Should every character look the same now that we have optimal choices? Oh, fuck no, of course not.
That would be retarded.
But we can learn a few valuable lessons. There are some huge discrepancies, not just between classic soldiers only and civilians, but also between different soldier classes in the same group. So, GMs and players alike, be careful when mixing any of them. Unlike other systems, in Mythic you don't become more specialized when you pick a statistically weaker soldier type and spend leftover experience, because you don't get specific skills and abilities from your soldier type for the most part anyway. To any players, there are a few really bad choices. I don't want to discourage you from picking them, But I do want you to be wary about the choices you make. Your character might not turn out the way you envision him. If you want to swap anything around in your own games, maybe this can give you a decent guideline on how much to change. Same if you want to make any homebrew stuff perhaps. With that, I'm pretty much done. Make of this what you want, and please don't start optimizing your characters to the last extremes just because I made this. Now, revise your characters, you'll be departing in a few minutes. Dismissed.